I'm Ethan, 26 years old, flying solo in a cozy little apartment just beyond Lafayette city limits. It's not some fancy pad, but it's got everything I need to stay comfortable. For the past 9 months, I've been clocking in at a logistics company. It's not my dream gig or anything, but it keeps the lights on. I'm not the type to stir up trouble or chase after people. I prefer keeping things chill, smooth, and predictable. A couple of months ago, I started kicking it with Ryan, a coworker who's 23 and pretty laid back. We clicked fast, bonding over our shared love for old-school hip-hop and shooting baskets after work. I never thought I'd find a real friend at that job, but before I knew it, we were grabbing burgers after shifts, swapping dumb memes, and chilling at each other's places for video games or just to hang. One Friday, after we punched out, Ryan invited me to his place for dinner. "My mom's cooking tonight," he said. "Her garlic chicken is unreal, man, you've gotta try it." I chuckled and said, "Count me in." We rolled up to his house, a tidy 2-story in a quiet neighborhood that looked like someone had poured years of care into it. The moment we walked in, the aroma of garlic, butter, and herbs hit me like a warm wave, wrapping me in comfort. Then I met her, Ryan's mom, Lauren. She stepped out of the kitchen, an apron tied around her, wiping her hands on a dish towel. I wasn't ready for her. She didn't fit the mom stereotype at all. Her blonde hair was loosely tied back, a few strands brushing her face, and her sharp blue eyes locked onto mine. She was 42 but could have passed for mid-30s, with a presence that shifted the room's energy. She didn't need to try, she just drew your attention naturally. "Hey," she said, flashing a smile that was warm yet self-assured. "You're Ethan, right? Ryan's talked about you a bit." I grinned back. "Hope it's all good stuff." She let out a soft laugh. "Nothing but good. Dinner's almost ready, make yourself comfortable." I settled at the dining table while Ryan darted upstairs for something. Lauren slipped back into the kitchen and I couldn't help sneaking a few glances. It wasn't just her looks, it was how she carried herself, like she had a spark that hadn't been lit in a while. I wasn't trying to be creepy, but she had this vibe that was hard to ignore. Dinner was incredible, way beyond what I'd expected. We sat around the table, tossing around jokes and swapping silly work stories. Lauren chimed in now and then, poking fun at Ryan or laughing at his antics. Her quick wit threw me off. She wasn't anything like my own mom, not what I'd imagined at all. When I got home that night, my mind kept drifting back to the evening, but not the food or the laughs, just Lauren. Something about her lingered. Over the next few weeks, I started swinging by their place more, sometimes to chill with Ryan, sometimes to catch a game. Lauren was always there, effortlessly put together, even in casual moments. Her smiles lingered a bit too long, and she'd ask about my day, remembering little things like how I like my coffee or what shows I was into. It wasn't much, but it was enough to make me notice. I didn't mention it to anyone, especially not Ryan, but I could feel something brewing inside me. Every time I stepped into their house, the atmosphere felt electric, different. Lauren wasn't outright flirting, but the way her eyes followed me or how she'd stand just a touch closer when passing me a drink, it spoke louder than words. I knew it, and I'm pretty sure she did too. We just hadn't put it into words yet. Then one Saturday we were parked in their living room, watching a game. Ryan's phone buzzed and he jumped up. "Crap, I forgot I told my buddy I'd pick something up for him. I'll be back in like half an hour." He grabbed his keys and bolted out the door before I could say much. The second it shut, the room's vibe shifted. Lauren walked in, moving slow and deliberate, and sat right next to me on the couch, not across, not nearby, but close enough our arms almost brushed. She glanced at the TV briefly, then turned to me, her voice soft, like she'd been holding onto this moment. "Well, looks like it's just us now." I met her gaze, and she held it, no hesitation. That's when I knew this wasn't just friendly small talk. She was into me, real and unapologetic, and I couldn't act like I wasn't feeling it too. When she said, "Well, looks like it's just us now," the world seemed to pause. The game was still blaring on the TV, but it faded to nothing. All I could focus on was Lauren. She didn't flinch, didn't laugh it off, or backtrack. She meant every word, like she'd been waiting for the moment Ryan's footsteps faded. I didn't pull away either. I gave her a small, honest smile, not smug, just enough to say, "I get it." She shifted closer, tucking one leg under her, her arm resting on the couch behind me, fingers inches from my shoulder. "Ethan," she started, then paused, like she was choosing her words carefully. "I don't normally do stuff like this. Honestly, I've never done anything like this." I leaned in just a bit, letting her know I was listening. "I'm not losing it," she said quickly, like she needed to clear the air. "I know you're Ryan's friend, and I know I'm older. I get how this might seem. But when you're here, talking with you, I don't feel like just a mom. I feel awake, young, like I'm craving something real again." She didn't need to say more, I understood. "You're not just Ryan's mom," I said. You're Lauren, and you don't need to explain that. Her face softened like she'd braced for judgment and found none. She let out a slow breath, glancing down briefly, gathering herself. I hid Ryan when I was 18, she said. His dad bailed before he was born. I raised him alone, always the steady one, the responsible mom. But I haven't been just Lauren in so long. I forgot what it's like to be seen as a woman. When Lauren looked up at me again, her voice wavering just a bit, I saw her for real, not just as Ryan's mom or some fleeting daydream, but as a person with depth and heart. This wasn't a fling or some thrill-seeking game for her. She'd been carrying a quiet loneliness for years, and somehow, without meaning to, I'd reached a part of her she'd kept locked away. I didn't jump to fill the silence. Instead, I let it sit between us for a moment, heavy but calm. Then, softly, I brushed a stray lock of hair from her face. She didn't pull back or tense up, her eyes fluttered shut for a split second, like that tiny touch carried more weight than I could have guessed. The air crackled with something alive, but it wasn't chaotic. We both understood exactly what was unfolding, and neither of us wanted to rush it and ruin the moment. We didn't lock lips that day, didn't push past that single, gentle touch, but everything had shifted. We'd stepped over a line we couldn't uncross, and there was no pretending it hadn't happened. Right on cue, about half an hour later, Ryan burst through the door with a bag of snacks and a couple of sodas. Lauren was back in the kitchen, acting like nothing had gone down, while I sat on the couch, pretending to care about the game on TV. But my mind was nowhere near the screen. It was on her, the way her eyes had held mine, and how much I wanted to see her again, not as Ryan's mom, but as Lauren, the woman who'd let me see her for real. A few days later, my phone pinged with a message from her. It started casual, "Hey, you doing all right?" But soon got straight to the point. "I keep thinking about our talk. You free Thursday, just the two of us?" We didn't spell it out, but the meaning was crystal clear. She mentioned Ryan's weekend camping trip with his buddies, tossing it out like it was no big deal, but I caught the hint. She was opening the door for me. That Thursday, I rolled up to her place around 7 o'clock. Her hair was down, her makeup subtle but perfect, and she was rocking jeans and a plain tee, nothing over the top, just Lauren, and she looked amazing. We ate in the kitchen, no background music, just the sound of our voices bouncing back and forth. She laughed more that night than I'd ever seen, her whole face lighting up. I told her how gorgeous she looked, and I swear I saw a blush creep across her cheeks. She poured us some wine, and for the first time, I didn't feel like I was trespassing. It felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. After dinner, we moved to the living room, settling on that same couch, same spot, but the vibe was different, no nerves, just a quiet certainty of what we both wanted. She rested her head lightly on my shoulder, and I laid my hand over hers. "You still good with this?" she asked, her voice soft but steady. "More than good," I replied. Then we kissed, our first real kiss, slow, deliberate, full of everything we hadn't said out loud, the kind of kiss that means something deeper. I stayed late that night. We talked, kissed again, held each other close, and not once did it feel off. What we had was new, exciting, and real for both of us. Before I headed out, she gave me a look I hadn't seen before, not anxious, not guilty, just open. "I don't know where this is headed," she said, "but I'm not ready for it to end." "Then let's keep it going," I told her. "We don't have to explain ourselves to anybody." She nodded, her smile raw and real, like she'd finally let go of pretending. Things didn't flip upside down after that, no big drama or grand gestures. The change was subtle, the kind that actually sticks. We didn't call it a relationship or set rules or plan out the future. We just kept moving forward together. 5 days later, Ryan invited me over to watch the game, and I said yes in a heartbeat, knowing Lauren would be there. When I walked in, she was in the kitchen, rinsing dishes. She glanced back at me for just a second and smiled. That was enough, no words, no contact, but it screamed, "I'm still thinking about you." Ryan was all in on the game, shouting at the TV and tossing popcorn like a lunatic, completely clueless. Lauren brought us drinks and sat across the room, playing it cool like nothing was up. We pulled it off perfectly, no weird vibes, no awkward pauses, but every time our eyes met, that spark between us flared up again. After the game, Ryan walked me to the door, still ranting about a bad ref call. Lauren stood in the kitchen doorway, sipping her wine, watching quietly. Just before I stepped outside, our eyes locked one last time. Later that night, my phone lit up with her message, "Wish we'd had a moment alone." I shot back, "Same. Can't get you out of my head." Her reply came quick, "Wednesday." I didn't need to ask what she meant. I just texted, "I'm there." From then on, we had an unspoken rhythm, subtle but solid. Whenever Ryan was working late, out with friends, or off for the weekend, she'd drop a hint, sometimes a quick text, sometimes just a look. I knew when it was time. Those first few visits had me on edge. I'd park a block away, wait till the lights were low, sometimes slipping in through an unlocked side door. Not because we felt wrong about us, but because we knew the world, especially Ryan, wouldn't understand. But once I was inside, all that melted away. She'd be there, no makeup, hair loose, in a sweatshirt and leggings, with a smile that felt like it had been waiting for me all week. We'd talk, not just about what was happening between us, though that came up plenty, but about life, her job, my work, how she sometimes felt like she disappeared in everyone else's eyes, how I often felt like I didn't quite belong anywhere. With her, though, I wasn't an outsider. I felt like I was home. Sometimes we'd cook together, laughing over a recipe gone wrong. Other times, we'd crash on the couch, her feet in my lap, some random movie playing that we ignored. Some nights, we didn't even need words, just holding each other was enough. She opened up in ways I don't think she had with anyone else, sharing how Ryan's dad ditched her before he was born, how she never remarried because no one saw her for her, how tough it was raising Ryan solo, and how proud she was of him, even if he'd never fully get what she gave up. I opened up too, telling her about growing up in a house where silence spoke louder than words, how I always felt like I was meant for something bigger but never found it, how most people my age didn't connect with me the way she did. It wasn't just about the physical stuff, though that spark was real. What hooked me was how she looked at me when I spoke, like I was someone who mattered, like I wasn't just fading into the background anymore. We found small ways to keep our connection alive between visits. I'd shoot her a track I figured she'd vibe with, and she'd send me a quick pic of her morning coffee with a note, "Wish you were sipping this with me." I'd toss out a cheesy joke and she'd fire back a heart emoji, something I knew she didn't just throw around. But as our bond grew stronger, the secret started weighing heavier. It wasn't shame, it was the strain of hiding something that felt so genuine. Ryan was still in the dark. If anything, he was tighter with me than ever, calling me his best bud and dragging me to hangouts with his crew. He even cracked a joke once, "Keep this up, man, and you'll be family." Lauren and I played our parts flawlessly, getting scary good at it. She held off texting when Ryan was around, and I avoided liking her posts online, just to play it safe. At their place, we kept our distance, no lingering looks, no brushing hands, no sitting too close. But sometimes we slipped up. Like when I dropped a dumb joke and she laughed so hard her hand landed on my knee for a split second before she froze. Ryan didn't notice, but we sure did. Or the time a song came on, the same one we'd played that night on her couch, and her eyes held mine just a heartbeat too long, forcing me to look away fast. We both knew we couldn't keep this up forever, but stopping wasn't an option either. One night, lying beside her in the quiet, her soft breaths filling the room, I asked, "You ever wonder what'd happen if Ryan found out?" She gave a slow nod. "It's on my mind constantly," she said, her voice heavy. Turning to face me, she added, "I'd probably lose him. And maybe you too." Her words hit like a punch I didn't see coming. "I don't want that," I said quietly. "Me neither," she murmured, "but I'm not ready to give this up." She reached for my hand and I held it firm. We didn't dive into talk of the future, no grand plans or hypotheticals, just stayed in the moment, two people who shouldn't fit together but somehow did. By the time fall hit, Lauren and I had settled into a groove, one that didn't feel like sneaking around anymore. It just felt like us. We'd mastered moving carefully when Ryan was home, timing our texts, staying under the radar. It wasn't fear-driven, it was about keeping what we had alive, and weirdly, we got pretty slick at it, like we'd been practicing for years. It stopped feeling like we were hiding something shameful, it just felt like our world. I'd show up at their place, Ryan fiddling with the fire pit in the yard, and Lauren would hand me a plate, her fingers grazing mine for a fraction of a second too long. No one else caught it, but that touch lingered in my chest for half an hour. She had this knack for making me feel seen, even in a crowd. When I spoke, she didn't just nod and wait her turn, she truly listened, remembering the little things, giving my words weight. That feeling was like a drug. One night, we got the house to ourselves again. Ryan had jetted off to see a girl he was into and wouldn't be back till late. The second the door clicked shut, Lauren walked over to me, no hesitation in her step. We didn't rush, never our style. Instead, we sank into the couch under a blanket like it was the most normal thing ever. We talked, not just about keeping our secret, but about life, our pasts, our mistakes, our dreams. "I'm at this age," she said quietly, "where I thought I'd have more. Not stuff or status, you know. Love. Someone who gets me, who's in it with me." Without missing a beat, I said, "You've got that right here." Her eyes met mine, and something shifted, like she might actually believe it. She leaned in and kissed me, slower than usual, like she wanted to hold onto every second. And trust me, I didn't want it to end either. Later, after we'd been together, she drifted off in my arms, and for the first time, I wasn't scared of getting caught. I wasn't worried about what this meant. I just knew I didn't want to lose her. The next morning, I slipped out early before Ryan got back. We didn't part like some dramatic couple, just two people keeping it low-key. But before I left, she pressed her fingers into my palm for a moment. That small gesture said more than any words could. Over time, we got a little braver or maybe just more comfortable with how things were. I'd send her a text midday and she'd reply with a soft shot of her smiling, nothing flirty, just intimate, ours. Ryan still had no clue. If anything, he leaned on me more, telling me about friends who flaked or girls who ghosted him. Every time he said, "You've been rock solid, man," my chest tightened, not exactly guilt, but a nudge that I was dancing on a razor's edge. Once he even laughed, "You're the only dude I trust around my mom. She actually thinks you're cool." I just grinned, kept my mouth shut. Lauren and I never talked about what had happened if we got busted. It was like we made a silent pact. If we didn't acknowledge the risk, maybe it wouldn't catch us. Then came a weekend that gave us our longest stretch yet. Ryan was headed out for a 4-day hiking trip with his buddies. The second his car pulled out, I was on my way over. It felt like a little slice of something real. We whipped up pancakes in the morning, danced barefoot in the kitchen, binged movies in the afternoon like the world couldn't touch us. She skipped makeup all weekend, and I swear she looked even more stunning that way. She always did. On the second night, we sat out on the back porch, wine in hand, stars overhead. She was nestled against me under a blanket, quiet for a bit. "I wish we could have this for real," she whispered. "We do," I said. "I mean out there," she clarified, "not just these stolen moments." I didn't answer right away, just pulled her closer and said, "I get it." Then I added, "I want that too, but I'm not willing to lose what we've got now." She nodded against my shoulder. "Me neither." Then she looked up and said, "So we keep it safe as long as we can." That became our unspoken pact. No grand plans for the future, no sweeping vows, just keep moving forward, keep it safe, keep it ours. Lying in bed that night, I couldn't shake the thought this wasn't some casual hookup or a thrill we were chasing. It felt deeper, more real than anything I'd ever experienced. And the wildest part? We were pulling it off. Nobody had a clue, not Ryan, not the neighbors, not our coworkers or friends. It was like we'd carved out a private little universe just for us, and we were sharp enough, careful enough to protect it. It's been nearly 18 months now, a whole 18 months since that day Ryan bolted to the store and Lauren looked at me and said, "We're finally alone." I can still hear her voice, see the way her eyes held mine, like it was yesterday. What started as a single spark had grown into something profound. Our secret stayed airtight. We were meticulous, every text erased, every glance rehearsed, every visit timed down to the minute. And still, no one suspects a thing. I'm over at their place all the time, same as always. To everyone else, I'm just Ryan's pal, the reliable guy who cracks jokes with his mom, the one who fits right in. But behind closed doors, I'm the one she leans into at night, the one who knows the scent of her hair, who can tell her mood from the way she exhales when she opens the door. People think secrets like ours fizzle out fast, that they crash and burn. But ours didn't. It evolved, deepened into something richer. We don't see each other daily. Life's too messy for that. Sometimes weeks pass with just a quick, careful text between us. But when we do get a moment, it's as real as ever, maybe even more now than at the start. Not long ago, Ryan had me over for a movie night, just a low-key hangout with him, me, and a few folks from work. Lauren stayed upstairs most of the time, giving us our space. By 11 o'clock, people started clearing out. Ryan walked one of the guys to his car, and I stuck around, picking up empty cups and plates in the kitchen. I heard soft footsteps on the stairs and knew it was her before I even turned. When I looked, she was standing by the hallway, just watching me, her eyes steady. Without a sound, she mouthed, "1 a.m. I gave her the tiniest nod back. That night, I parked a street over, like always, and walked to the house. It was dark, exactly as we'd planned. I slipped through the side gate and in through the back door. Same routine we'd perfected a dozen times. She was waiting in the kitchen, barefoot, in a loose shirt, hair down, looking worn out but calm. We didn't dive into anything. That's not how we roll anymore. We just stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, soaking in the quiet. Later, lying in bed, she asked softly, "Do you ever think about what we're really doing here?" "Every time I'm with you," I answered. "I mean, where it's headed," she said, scooting closer. I took a beat before responding. "Because I do," she went on. "I imagine what it'd be like to kiss you in the morning without checking over my shoulder. I wanted that too, wanted to promise we'd find a way. But the truth was, we weren't there yet." "I think about it too," I admitted. She nodded, her eyes searching mine. But it's bigger than we expected, right? I looked at her and said, yeah, way bigger. We didn't try to label it or pin it down. We didn't make promises we might not keep. But in that still moment, we both understood. This wasn't just a getaway or a mistake we'd regret. It was love. Quiet, complicated, fragile, tucked into the gaps of our everyday lives. She nestled her head against my chest. As long as Ryan doesn't find out, he won't, I said. We're careful, we're smart. And if he ever does... I hesitated, took a breath. We'll deal with it together. The next morning, I slipped out early, like always, leaving no trace. Her expression shifted just a bit as she walked me to the door, her eyes lingering on me, her hand giving mine a soft squeeze before letting go. Ryan was still crashed out upstairs. The house was silent. I stepped outside, walked to my car, and blended back into the morning, just another dude starting his day. That's how it's been even now. We still find ways to steal time together, not for the thrill or the risk, but because it matters. Because even though none of this was supposed to happen, even though it lives in hidden moments and quiet corners, it's real. Just last week, in the soft glow of early morning, we were lying there when she said, I haven't felt lonely since the day you walked into my life. I looked at her and said, and I haven't felt lost since you let me in. So where does this go? Maybe it doesn't have an end. Maybe this is just how it is, our private truth, tucked away in the wider world. No big show, no chaos, just a quiet love no one else sees.